Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, we had been working kind of late and I'd been running errands and everything, and so I just did something really quick for dinner. I had some of this popcorn shrimp in my freezer that needed to be used up, and while I was out running errands, I ran into the store and I just grabbed one of these salad kits and then this container of macaroni and cheese. For the shrimp, I popped it in the air fryer and cooked it at 400 degrees for about 7 or 8 minutes or so. Just cook it until it's crispy to your liking. And then in a bowl, I mixed up that salad kit. I had some grape tomatoes in my fridge, so I just added that to the kit. And then I cooked the macaroni and cheese in the microwave according to the package instructions. Here are the plates. So we just have the shrimp, the mac and cheese, the salad, and then I had some honey mustard to dip my shrimp in. And that was it. Quick and easy dinner, but it hit the spot. For dinner the next night, I did a slow cooker pot roast. I had a pot roast in my freezer, so I just pulled it out and allowed it to thaw. I've got a can of cream of mushroom soup, a package of the onion soup mix, and then I've got an onion and some potatoes. Normally I use russet potatoes, but I've got these little baby yellow potatoes on hand, so I'm going to use those. And then I've got some baby carrots. Now, I've shown how to make this before on my channel, but I just wanted to quickly walk through it again for you. In the bottom of the crock pot liner, I cut up my onions, cut up my potatoes, and I've got the baby carrots. I just added those, and then I like to season them with just a little bit of salt and pepper. Next, I will take my roast, and I do make sure to season the roast with a little bit of salt and pepper on both sides. Place that on top of the vegetables. Next, in another dish, I usually do a measuring cup. I add my cream of mushroom soup, I add the onion soup mix, and then I normally add about a half a cup of water. I stir that together really well, and then I pour that over the roast. Now, I'm using about a 3-pound roast here. If you're using a bigger roast, you might want to double up on the mushroom soup and the onion soup mix. So once I've got that soup mixture poured over that, cover this with a lid, and I like to cook this low and slow all day for about 8 to 10 hours until the roast just absolutely falls apart and is so tender. And depending on how much water I add, how much, liquid comes off of the vegetables and the beef, sometimes I will add in a cornstarch slurry. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't need it. I did add in a cornstarch slurry tonight, so just a little bit of cornstarch, cold water, added it to the crock pot and gave it a little stir, and then cooked it on high for maybe like 15 minutes or so. I really wanted rolls to go with the roast, and I could have swore I had some in the freezer, but when I went to get them, they were gone. I didn't have any. So I decided to make these mayonnaise rolls. I saw them maybe a year or two ago on Tamara's channel at Southern Wife Everyday Life. I'll link it down below for you. Now, obviously, you're not using yeast in these rolls, so they're not going to be exactly like yeast rolls, but for a quick, little bread, these are yummy and tasty, and you more than likely have all the ingredients you need on hand. So in this bowl, I'm going to add in the mayonnaise, and all the recipes I've seen for this say that you do have to use mayonnaise. You can't use Miracle Whip. Next, we're going to add in some milk. You could use whole milk. I have 2%, so that's what I'm going to add. And then we're going to add in some self-rising flour, and that self-rising flour has your leavener, but it also has a little bit of salt. Now, some of the recipes that I've seen call for you to add just a little bit of sugar, so I put in just maybe not even a teaspoon, and then I did add in just an extra little pinch of salt. The last time I made these, which it's been a while or so ago, but I had made a mental note to add just a tiny pinch of salt to them, so I wanted to make sure I did that. So you just want to mix that together. Don't need to over mix it, just mix it until it's well combined. And then you're going to want to grease some muffin tins, and then we're going to add that mixture to the muffin tins, and these are going to go into a preheated oven. The oven was set at 375, and these baked for about 12 to 15 minutes until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean and they get a little golden brown. And I like to brush them with some butter once they come out of the oven. All right, so I had some mushrooms in my fridge that were really on the questionable side, and I didn't want to waste them, so I decided to make some peas and mushrooms. In this skillet, I'm going to add in a little pat of butter. Once that butter has melted, I'm going to add in some chopped shallot. I just had a shallot on hand, so I'm going to chop that up and use that, but normally I just use use an onion. Once I've added the shallot, I'm going to add in those mushrooms. Like I said, as you can tell, they look kind of iffy, but I need to use them up and I didn't want to waste it. So I added a little salt and pepper along with some minced garlic, and I just cooked that for maybe about 5 minutes until the vegetables were tender. Next, I'm going to add in my peas. I like to use frozen peas. It's just a texture thing, but you can totally use canned peas if you would prefer to do that. After I add in the peas, I'm going to add in some chicken broth. In my case, I'm using some water and some of this bouillon powder. I'm going to give that a stir and then bring this up to a boil, or, a high simmer. Once it's there, I'm going to cover it with a lid, turn the heat down, and simmer it for about 5 to 7 minutes until the peas are tender and the liquid has evaporated, and that's what it looked like when it was done. All right, here are the plates. So we've got some of the roast, the vegetables, and then that gravy on top, the peas and mushrooms, and those rolls. And we like to eat our roast with ketchup, so that's not shown, but I mean, this just was so good. That roast was so tender, and I love the flavor of the cream of mushroom soup with the onion soup mix. It's just so good, and this was a comforting dinner. I had some Hawaiian rolls left over from New Year's Eve, and so I decided to make some sliders. I added just a little bit of butter to the tops and bottoms of the slider rolls, and I toasted them in just a dry skillet over about medium heat until they were golden brown like this. Now we're going to get started on our sliders. So I'm going to use this Steak and Shake seasoning to season up the slider patties. I just took some ground beef, I think I used 92.8, and rolled them into little balls, seasoned them on the first side with a little bit of that seasoning, put them in the skillet. I'm going to add a little bit more of the seasoning on top. I decided to do just a tiny little drizzle of olive oil because I was using a leaner ground beef. I allowed that to set on that side for maybe a minute, and then I'm going to take this bacon hamburger press. My mom and dad got this for me. I was so excited to use it, and I just smashed those patties down, and I cooked them for, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 minutes aside until they were done to our liking. We like our burgers to be a little more on the medium side, so if you like yours well done, you'll want to cook them a little bit longer. But the last minute or so that they were cooking, I added some sliced American cheese on top, covered it with a lid so that cheese could get really just gooey and melty. And then once they were done, I placed them onto a paper towel lined plate just to get a little bit of that grease off, and then we're going to assemble the sliders. Now, here's what I'm using tonight. Of course, use whatever you like on your sliders. I've got some pickles, shredded iceberg, Roma tomatoes, some mayonnaise, ketchup, and mustard. And then to go along with this, I know I've shown this before on my channel, but you guys, I love this combination. The Alexia sweet potato fries with this Kinder's brown sugar garlic. Oh, it is so good. I just love that combination. So I cooked up the sweet potato fries with that seasoning in the air fryer, cooked it at 400 degrees for, I don't know, maybe like 12 minutes or so until the fries were done to my liking. And then I think one of my subscribers recommended this like a while ago to dip sweet potato fries in honey mustard. Might sound a little weird, but it is delicious. If you have not tried that combination, you got to try it. It's so good. And of course, along with the fries and honey mustard, we've got our sliders. And then this day we went out to lunch. Gary hadn't eaten some potato salad with his lunch, and we brought it home. And so I served that up, with his dinner to get that used up and eaten. And this was yummy. The next day, we'd eaten lunch pretty late, so I didn't want anything big for lunch, but I was just craving potato soup so bad. But the weather was crazy windy, and I was not about to drive anywhere. I didn't have any fresh potatoes on hand. I didn't have any frozen potatoes on hand. And I thought, you know what? I've got a can of potatoes in the pantry. Surely somebody has made potato soup with canned potatoes. So I went on the Google machine, found a recipe, gave it a try. I really enjoyed it. If you're looking for just a really quick pantry staple meal, you got to give this a try. So to this sauce pot, I'm going to add in a can of diced potatoes. The recipe that I used said to leave the liquid in everything, so that's what I'm going to do. Next, I added in just a little bit of water, and the recipe didn't call for this, but I added just a tiny little bit of chicken bouillon just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. So you want to bring this to a simmer, and then we're going to add in our can of cream of chicken soup. We're going to give that a stir and mix it in really well. Next, I'm going to add in the milk. And of course, this recipe will be linked in the description box below for you. I didn't follow it exactly. Some of the spices and like the onions and garlic, I just didn't feel like messing with it. But as far as the soup itself goes, the recipe called for 2 cans of potatoes. I only used 1 can, but I still used a full can of the cream of chicken soup just because I personally like my potato soup really creamy. I also added in some black pepper. I held off on adding any salt. So I simmered this for about 10 minutes. And then once I did that, I'm going to add in a little bit of sour cream, some shredded cheddar cheese, and then for bacon, I just had this package of bacon pieces on hand, so I'm just going to use that. But I mean, you could of course use crumbled bacon, but we're going for quick and easy tonight. So I gave that a stir, gave it a taste. I was happy with how it tasted. I personally would have probably liked the soup to be a little, just a tiny bit thicker, just personal preference. I thought about pulling out a masher and like mashing up some of the potatoes to make it a little thicker, but again, this night going for easy, just didn't fool with it. I was like, that's fine. So this is what the soup looked like when it was done. To serve it up, I added a little bit more shredded cheese, bacon pieces, and then I had some chives on hand, so I chopped those up. And like I said, for a quick and easy pantry meal, this was not a bad potato soup at all. Very budget friendly. And here, y'all, I texted my mom, so proud of myself, like, you know, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could make, you know, potato soup with diced potatoes. And she's like, oh yeah, your dad's made it that way for years. And I was like, how did I not know this? But yeah, anyway, like I said, quick and easy dinner. So the next day, we were crazy busy. If you saw my grocery haul video, I mentioned that we were going to be going out of town several days this week. And so I'd been busy, you know, cleaning and packing and doing all the things to get ready for that. So this night for dinner, we just grabbed something out. I wanted chicken salad chick and Gary wanted Jersey Mike's. So I got the cranberry Kelly on croissant and then a scoop of the classic Carol with their broccoli salad. And then he got the club sub from Jersey Mike's, and he basically gets like everything on it except the Dijon mustard and the raw onions. And that was our dinner this night. Quick and easy, hit the spot, and yeah, that was what we had for dinner. So the next day and the following days in the rest of today's video was supposed to be us out of town, but Gary ended up not feeling well, and so we rescheduled our trip. This night, you know, I was just trying to make something that I thought, you know, would be comforting and, you know, easy on him. So I made the creamy Italian chicken. I know I've shared this so many times before on my channel. If you are a regular reviewer, you're like, oh my gosh, this again. But when I say it's a family favorite, I mean it. As you can see, we make it pretty often. So in this crock pot, what I did was I took some chicken tenders, tenderloins, added some dry Italian dressing mix, a little splash of water, cream cheese, and a can of cream of chicken soup. I cooked it on low for about 4 hours. Once the chicken was 165 degrees and tender, I removed the chicken. I like to dice it. You can shred it. And then we prefer to serve this over white rice. I know a lot of people like it with pasta. Either or, it is an easy, budget-friendly, delicious dinner. Once again, I was craving a Pizza Hut meat lovers pizza. I don't know where this craving all of a sudden has come from. I craved this a couple weeks or so ago. And so I ordered it for dinner, just got some breadsticks and a medium pan meat lovers pizza. And yeah, that was my dinner this night. And I ate on this for the next couple days for lunch. I forgot to get a picture of Gary's dinner. He ate later than I did this night, but he had some of the Panera chicken noodle soup that you just buy, you know, at the grocery store in the deli area. I heated that up for him, and he had that with some saltine crackers, and that was his dinner this night. All right, that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.